Yes. Okay. Good evening, friends. A hearty Kemcho, Shubh Sandhya to my friends and fellow women entrepreneurs. I'm Geet, an author, a human resource missionary, a trainer, and a women entrepreneur. It's a privilege to be raising the curtain on FICCIFLO's this session of Startup Caravan. So, FICCI is Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and FLO is the ladies' wing of it. FICCI is one of the apex body chambers of commerce in India. FICCIFLO has 17 chapters all over India. FLO Mumbai is one of the chapters, and I'm proud to be part of the Mumbai chapter, and I see different personalities altogether on this platform. Flow Mumbai has adopted environment, sustainability, and livelihood of women as its 2020 vision. And this year, even despite the pandemic, uh, Mumbai chapter has been coming up with many interactions in different areas, whether be it environment, be it livelihood, be it sustainability. And among the social interactions, besides business, Flow also undertakes some social initiatives. And some of the leading such initiatives underway currently are uh, related to girls' education and livelihoods, the reviving of the Indian handloom weavers community, menstrual health and hygiene, and village adoption. So, today's session of Startup Caravan is being spearheaded by Archana. And we know Archana as a very bubbly uh, young woman who engages very enthusiastically with uh, aspiring and new women entrepreneurs as well as other entrepreneurs also. Today, in her Startup Caravan workshop series, she is going to look at some of the challenges in women's entrepreneurship, like why women led businesses are reluctant to
रात को सब बात कर दी
we will try and understand some of the reasons and how she's also going to discuss some of the let's say ways in which we can identify factors in the macro environment when going to raise finance. And she's also going to discuss the impact COVID has had on women led businesses. I don't like to distinguish myself when it comes to a woman entrepreneur or an entrepreneur. I thought, why should I call myself women entrepreneur? I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. But discussing with Archana since yesterday, I understood because when I was doing research for my book, I I realized a couple of things. One, that men do business in different areas. One, they are more market led and they are more power centric. You know, they like to use their networks and it's about domination. Yeah. But while the women had different strengths to offer, and they like to do business from their strengths, which are being intuitive, okay, being more people, uh, more comfortable leading people. I found they make great leaders and it is instinctive with them. You don't have to teach them how to lead. And they solve today's problems. So I understood what Archana was talking about. And therefore, I decided, see, the moment since I started my HR practice and I registered it as a business, I thought now that I'm registered, my customers will keep coming to me. I don't have to do any marketing and revenue will come and, I'll be flush with funds. So now I understand why I'm not flush with funds, because I don't like to talk about money, because I don't like to take responsibility for something which I don't like. And today I hope this session with all three of you I will end up learning more than you will, I am sure. So uh, I'm glad to introduce all our speakers today. We have Neha Motwani. She is founder and CEO of Fraternity. I like the word FITT, Fraternity. Her portal is a very cool marketplace for preventive healthcare services. Uh, it integrates technology and personal preferences of fitness seekers and service providers, 12,000 service providers from 12 different cities. She connects on her preventive health services portal. Uh, so this is one of a kind portal in India. Her startup showcases the, as Archana mentioned, she has picked up this case study to showcase to us what women led businesses can do given the right idea and given the right approach to funding. Uh, our second speaker for the today is Nimisha Nagarsekar, a pedigreed venture capitalist and partner, CFO, and COO at Success Ventures. Okay, I can, trip over myself calling out the designations, but I'm sure they are much less than the experience she carries. Nimisha left Colgate Palmolive as head of commercial and investor relations. Welcome today to FICCIFLO's platform. She listened to her Sixth Sense and joined Sixth Sense Ventures, which is India's first domestic consumer centric venture fund. She's a valuable member of the investments team at Sixth Sense, where she manages fund portfolio companies. Nimisha brings in the funding agency perspective today. And then, of course, we have the inimitable Archana Khosla Burman. Not that I need to introduce her, but just to refresh some memories. She's founder and managing partner at Vertices Partners, one of the fastest growing. Looking at her, one can understand why it is one of the fastest growing boutique law firms. She is an expert in private equity and venture capital within startups. She has been consistently recognized as one of the top lawyers of the country. And I can imagine her firm also, Vertices Partners, that it consists of, it was established by and uh, young, energetic team handling a niche service law firm. So, Archana, over to you to help us understand some of the grassroots funding related issues and looking at your perspective in solving them.
Thank you so much, Geet, for your very, very warm words and warm introductions. I think a lot of women will be able to resonate with a lot of things which you just spoke about. I'm truly very excited today to have this chat with this wonderful women panelists. So I'll start by, when we talk about the buzzword entrepreneurship, I've always maintained that entrepreneurship is very tough. It's a difficult journey, right? And it is a fact and not a fad. A lot of people say entrepreneurship is a buzzword, it's a fad, but it is truly a fact. And one of the biggest learnings of my entrepreneurial journey, which I believe shaped me right at the beginning of taking the plunge, was that what I learned was that one should be prepared for the most obvious to become the least obvious. So when I say that, what I mean is that when we started our law firm between Vinayak, Amit, and myself in the year 2016, we started on the basis of assurances from various aspects or segments, be it some of the obvious clients that we knew would be very good that were meant to be there from the start, some obvious set of colleagues with whom we had, thought of this dream and we had allocated roles for everybody, some obvious set of financial help which was assured by some close quarters, some obvious set of cash flow determinants, and this small club of obvious things in life which one takes into account before leaving the cushioned jobs and moving into the mayhem. And in an ideal world, if we have all of these pieces together, the puzzle pieces, which are completely different from the ideal world. And when we started, all of a sudden, the obvious so-called clients who had vociferously stated their commitment disappeared. The colleagues who had believed in and lived a dream and were to be key members to start off with disappeared. The so-called drawdown lines that were offered to us disappeared. So basically, the obvious business plan really became a fallacy. And that's when I learned right at the beginning of starting off that it is important to be prepared for the most obvious to become the least obvious. And that has been the biggest learning for me. And Neha, I would like to bring you in here. You're a very, very successful entrepreneur, and I'm sure our participants who are a mix of women entrepreneurs in different stages of their businesses and some college students who are aspiring entrepreneurs would love to hear from you about your journey. Tell us certain nuances, any palpitations, any learnings.
Thank you so much, Archana. Thank you for having me, Geet. Thank you for the amazing introduction. It is actually really, really amazing to have Archana on one side and Nimisha on the other. So it's truly investor, advisor, and entrepreneur. And I sort of keep talking to you guys on a weekly basis. Nimisha almost on a daily basis, and apart from, of course, Nimisha really trusting in fraternity and trusting in me and my co-founder. I mean, she's one of the reasons why fraternity has come a long way. So of course, I'm going to talk more about that later. uh, but I think just on entrepreneurship, Archana, I had read this quote and I think it really resonated a lot with me. So it goes like this: entrepreneurship is like riding a lion. The person who is seeing, you know is saying, "Oh my God, look at that! How glorious! She's riding a lion. So amazing, so brave." And the person who's riding the lion is actually thinking, "How the hell did I get on the lion? And how do I save my life? And how do I get off it?" Right? So I think that's in a nutshell what entrepreneurship is, right? And it has been, honestly, the most enriching, amazing journey, for me. I started out, of course, in a comfortable, cushy job as a uh, like and so went on to sort of just realize that I wanted to do more. I wanted to create an impact, and I think fitness was something that was really close to my heart. So when it really started sort of falling in place, I sort of just quit my job, took the plunge, and I would say that over the last 7 years, I think the one learning that I've had, and it sort of goes beyond. Uh, I I wouldn't say it's about women entrepreneurship or it's about doing the right thing, but I feel that one thing that really goes a long way is the statement of, if you won't ask, you won't get, right? And just being out, whether you call it networking, whether you call it catching up with people, whether you call it sending LinkedIn messages to absolute strangers, but to help you out, right? I feel that that sort of really makes a difference. To be out there, to be asked for help, you'll be surprised at the kind of help people are willing to give. When I started out, in fact, with fraternity, in the early days, I remember I must have reached out to
So
everybody
all things can happen. So I think
via LinkedIn. You'll be surprised at how many connections I made. I met so many people, via
गलती हो
LinkedIn.
गई
Most of them actually, who I call advisors, actually came from simple LinkedIn requests and introductions, right? Even Nimisha and Six Sense Ventures, right, was about actually just keeping in touch with a great fund that we knew and we had pitched ages back, and then just reaching out and saying, "Hey, you know what? We would love to get your perspective because we're trying something new," right? So you won't get it till you don't ask, and worst case scenario, they'll say no, right? So I think that's something that's always worked for us. And of course, more about the journey and more about how Archana both have helped me later on. But yeah, I think the entrepreneurship quote about riding a lion is something that I really take home every time I think about it.
Right. And what I feel is that in spite of extremely successful women entrepreneurs being trailblazers, we cannot ignore statistics. We cannot ignore the fact that even today an imbalance persists, right? And this probably emanates from the fact that the women founders itself are fewer. And then to top it all, the investor community in India, as elsewhere in the world as well, is predominantly male. And in my interactions with women founders, the general consensus is that women founders do face specific additional challenges than men while raising funds. So, Nimita, in your experience of dealing with so many entrepreneurs, what in your view is the real problem?
Hi, Archana. Hi. Thank you for having me on board. Geet, thank you for all the lovely words that you said about all of us, in fact. Thank you. Carrying forward from where Neha left her conversation, it is let's get one thing straight, and I'm going to slightly be on the sharky side, being from a venture capital fund. It's challenging for business ventures today to get capital itself. The success rate is not really more than 30%. And I think that also is a very high success rate that one talks about out here. Venture capitalists are in the business of giving funding, but they're also very, very careful about the risks that they are putting their hands into. Uh, the space is completely dominated, as Geet mentioned earlier, is by entrepreneurs who are men. Almost 85 to 90% of the entrepreneurs are men, and hence you hardly find 10 to 15% of them to be women. And so the whole point here is that it's more about awareness, it's more about encouraging women to start being confident of what they're thinking, start being confident of the networking, the ecosystems that they have around them, to start using those ecosystems. And then, kind of the space also requires a lot of mentoring and a high degree of female investors. So if you look on the other side also, in the PVC world, you do not find too many females as part of this investment banking world. There are very few and not many really. What the entire ecosystem requires is more of women entrepreneurs to be there, as well as more of the women gender uh, thing to be there in the investment side also. That collectively would help women to feel that, okay, let me just pick up a woman as my mentor. Please reach out to more and more women like Neha out there, and kind of get them as your mentor. Start talking about what works, what doesn't work, what is it that you aspire, what are the do's, the don'ts, before you go full hog into your business plans and your pitch decks. See, honestly, my advice is that it's presumed that investment bankers who are men may not understand the perspective of a woman, and there is this kind of a glass ceiling out there. But girls, take it with a pinch of salt. Business perspective remains the same, and the whole idea is be confident of what you're putting your hands into. Forget the gender bias. You can't start off thinking that I'm a woman and I will have to fight this out a little bit more than the guy next to me. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to push yourself to get your ecosystem in place. Like Neha said, go out there and ask, go out there and make yourself feel visible. uh, that's the best way to crack this glass ceiling. Yeah, for sure.
No, I absolutely agree with you because I feel a lot of things are internal as well. And probably that comes across when you are talking or you're presenting, you're making a pitch to the investors. So a mindset needs to change within yourself as well. And while I won't say that's the case with everyone, like for in fact, Neha is someone who is and has always been a hustler of sorts. She's
Yes.
this trailblazer flounder. I know. I don't think she like Geet said in the beginning. I don't think Neha, you think like I'm a woman entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur, right? And there are entrepreneurs who choose the slow lane, look at long-term profitability as against immediate growth, and are accused of not being aggressive enough. So, Neha, what is your view? Do women need to necessarily be hustlers to succeed? Is the real problem that some don't go out and grab opportunities and are much subtle in their approaches and are probably not loud enough about their achievements?
And related to that, whether they have a different, way of approaching, they avoid conflict. So have you noticed anything?
Honestly, I may come across a little different, and I say that uh, fully conscious of the fact that maybe I'm a little more privileged than a lot of other women entrepreneurs, and I'm saying that with humility. But I don't think that there's anything called women entrepreneurship, right? And I completely believe in that. I don't think business has got anything to do with gender. If there was a marketplace that had to get created in the fitness space, it had to get created, and my gender had nothing to do with it, right? Over the 3 rounds of funding that we've raised, I have never faced a bias. And again, touch wood, maybe I've seen the good side of this journey. I have never experienced a bias. I have never walked into a meeting where I have felt that this is a woman entrepreneur. It was just about, a, what's your product, b, how big is your market, and c, your profitability. I mean, nothing else mattered, right? And while I say that, right, and I do believe that there's some gap, because if you were to look at 2019, $20 billion were raised in terms of total capital in India. 6.5% only went to women entrepreneurs, right? So of course there is a difference, right? And I think the difference of success, or the difference in terms of scale or raising money, I think has to be addressed, like Nimisha said, on both sides. A, there are not enough women founders. So if you're saying that why it is only 6.5% of the total capital deployed going to women founders, because there are not enough, founders who are women. So if I were to ask Nimisha, in your, deal funnel, if you were to look at a pipeline, if you're meeting, I don't know, 100 companies, at least a year, right? Out of those 100 companies, she will tell you that maybe it is not a 50-50% split, right? Uh,
Not at all.
Exactly, right? So I feel that there is also a challenge of not enough women entrepreneurs, thinking that they can do it and actually taking the plunge, right? And actually being out there, right? I think that's one part of the story, right? And the other part of the story where, what Nimisha was talking about, and I completely agree, right? If there are enough women entrepreneurs, women venture capital funds, right? Like Nimisha, who are sitting on other side of the table, right? It really really becomes very very different, right? For example, right, the entire VC community in India is a certain type. They are male, back from the US, been there in xyz funds, right? They are a certain type, and they are not women, right? So I think at both ends, right, as soon as there is a larger top of the funnel in terms of more and more women entrepreneurs being out there, right, at the same time, changing, the fund profile of hiring, at these funds. I think both of these, sort of, has to get done at an overall systemic level, for India to see that 6.5% going up to, at least 20% over the next 2 years. But I would love to hear Nimisha's perspective on this.
So, coming back to Geeta, your question on hustling, I would say that any entrepreneur needs to hustle. That is for sure. When they get in front of a venture fund, they have to hustle. But and barring leaving Neha aside and a few of my other companies where there are women entrepreneurs, I mean, we have really seen some really good ones. I feel in general, women get intimidated very easily. I don't want to generalize this, but when you're pitching yourself to somebody, confidence by far is the largest psychological predictor of the opposite person's uh, decision to pursue whether I want to invest in this person or I do not want to invest in this person. I just feel that women need to make this a part of their DNA. Sometimes your exposure gives you this, it comes naturally to you. Sometimes you have to fight it out in your mind and ensure that it's part of your DNA as you carry your passion along, right? Because you've got the idea right, you've got the space right, but if you're not able to articulate it well, then a lot of things are going to fall within the cracks. Yeah. Yeah.
No, absolutely agree. And in fact, I think this is a global phenomenon. We're not just talking about India. Like this whole
Yes.
aspect about women receiving less funds is a global phenomenon. Even in 2020, even in US, while there have been investments, it's not like during COVID there weren't investments. There have been investments, and in fact, in US, I was reading somewhere that it has been at par with probably the earlier years, but that hasn't necessarily reached the women-led ventures. So it is a global phenomena, I think, which we all have been trying to tackle. A lot of it, like you said, is the issues which are generated from within because of something which you grew up in a certain manner. So I think it's a culmination of a lot of those things. And so when we talk about investments, Nimisha, how do you think is the right way to assess the macro environment when raising funds? And I'm asking this in not just about women entrepreneurs, but for entrepreneurs. How do you, when you're looking at raising funds, what are the things you need to bear in mind, or what is the right way to assess the environment?
Um, so that's a very interesting question. It's like, darling, show me the money. Yeah. So, macro environment, honestly, Archana, is like a broader thought process. Of course, you need everything in the macro environment to go well for you. And we are in consumption, we are a consumption led venture fund. So, definitely for us across the board, macro environment plays a very important role. So, whether it's the GDP, whether it's the inflation or other trends of macro environment or income led stuff, need to be kept in mind, but also bear in mind that a great business idea, will always find its way to get the right attention. So I wouldn't, for example, I'll give you an example. One of our hospitality companies once told us that, my sales are going down this month in February. This is like a year back, because it's exam time. And so like, people are not going to be using our vacation homes too often. But it doesn't work like that. You will always find your right TG, right? At one place, you will have TGs which may not be able to utilize your properties, but at the other end, you may find TGs which are free in February and hence will be able to utilize your properties. So macro environment really is at a very broader scale. Uh, I think the intent should be that your idea is so well culminated and you don't spread yourself thin while implementing your business plans. I think that is very important rather than just thinking about the macro environment. It's, that there's just about that much level of funding that you've received from somebody or you have it in your hand. It's best to just focus either regionally or like pick up a particular region and then focus only on that region, which is what actually fraternity has done very, very well. They've like kind of conquered completely on the western southern part of the country. Or you focus on one channel. You say that I'll be more of an e-com marketplace company, and I will not just spread myself thin by being in offline, online, and all across the board, or limit yourself to a particular TG also. See, again, macro is where it is. You just need to establish that your business works, your idea works. There has to be a very unique proposition because markets are very crowded, spaces are very crowded nowadays. There's nothing which says that I'm the only one who's thought of this idea. There are lots of hundreds of, everyone in India is like an entrepreneur, really. Everybody's thought about something that they always wanted to do. So your USPs have to be very clear. Your selling points have to be very clear. Your strong points have to be very clear. It could be your past experience, it could be your innovation, or it could be just a network that you carry with you to make your business a success. So I wouldn't get too stuck onto macro. There's a lot and more that India has to offer. It's a huge, huge, huge consumption story out there.
Absolutely agree. And one more element which I want to briefly talk about is the mindset. When any entrepreneur is looking at raising funds, I think first and foremost you need to ascertain what is your mindset and what is the runway. Both are
Yes.
very important as that changes the perspective while you're reviewing the term sheet that you get from the investor, when you're talking about the rights, when you're speaking to the investor.
Yes.
Because if you have a decent runway, a rock solid business plan which really ascertains your path to profitability, or you're fortunate to just have multiple term sheets on the table as against just
Yes.
one sector, then your outlook is very different. And you can look at it with a different lens as against when you're running out of cash and you need the funds immediately. So this is something which, as advisors, we experience for our clients a lot of times when, depending on the mindset and runway is where we have to create those good to haves and must haves, because a lot of investors of course have their own way of operating, and of course the entrepreneurs have to kind of, we have to highlight to them what are the must haves for them. So that becomes very important. The other is, what is the entrepreneur's expectation from the investor? Are you only looking at the check, or are you looking at the intangibles as well, where they can add that much more value, the connects they get for you, the board membership, the mentorship? So it's an entire package. And that's how, we always, and also from the entrepreneur's perspective, you should treat the equity which you're getting like debt. You have to treat it with respect, because you have to appreciate that for the investor, they're answerable to their LPs, right? So we always advise our entrepreneurs like that as well. And Neha, what's your view around this?
Well, I think absolutely. I feel, when you are sort of starting out, right? I think I'll just sort of draw back the journey, right? Of course, fundraise is a very, very critical part of that journey. But I think just taking a step back, right? I would say that if you're a woman entrepreneur who's having an idea or who has some kind of understanding of what sort of you would want to do, I would really, really urge you to first think about and say that, okay, what kind of business do you want to build, right? Because every business is not a VC fundable business, and of course there is a lot of merit in raising capital, but it will also have to get linked up to the goals that you have, right? So for example, if you want to actually scale up into scale an online venture, right, where you know that you actually need the funds, and like Nimisha mentioned, right, you have the target market, you have a product, and you know that as soon as you were to sort of deploy capital, you will see a sort of 10x, 100x, 500x growth, right? That's when you know that you're actually right for the VC fundable business, right? And it is okay to not be right for VC fundable business, right? You could actually be running a great business with great profitability where you actually do not require to raise funds, right? And I think that distinction is very important when you're starting out, right? First, what do I want to build, right? What is my business? What is my macroeconomic factor? All of that, right? And I think if you are going on the journey of raising capital, right, I really think it's very important for you to actually have those kind of mentors, uh, especially on factors like what Nimisha mentioned, right? I remember when we were raising our first round of capital, right? We did not know how to make a investor presentation, right? But then we got around. We took 2 months. We spoke to again 100 people, right? Uh, got amazing help, actually created a pitch deck, and were able to actually get the amount of funding that we required from day zero, right? And we actually got investor funds on board. We got family offices, we got angel investors along the way. So I would really urge that, if you are starting out, as an entrepreneur in the audience, a understand what kind of business you're wanting to build. B, if you're seeing a fit, yes, you want to raise capital, then be very, very certain in terms of, what is your product, what is the scalability, exactly what are you looking at building out. And third, have the kind of connects or be out there and be open to be able to say that, hey, you know what, I want to reach out. So I would call Nimisha and ask for introductions all the time, right? And Nimisha, of course, now being a very active investor in fraternity, right? In fact, a lot of ideas that Nimisha and I have sort of discussed have actually become business lines in fraternity, right? When she met us about more than a year and a half or two back, uh, there used to be an idea which she in fact talked about, saying that, what, Neha, what about offering what fraternity is doing as a marketplace to B2B, which means that to corporates, right? So how can corporates access fitness services directly for their employees, right? And at that point of time, the idea was super nascent, right? And that's what powerful ideas and great mentors can do, right? So Nimisha asked that question that made us start thinking, and today we have a full-fledged corporate wellness vertical, right? I mean, I would be happy to say that I think we're the largest corporate wellness vertical, which actually aggregates marketplace, and works with almost large set of Fortune 500 companies as well. So yeah, so I think having these mentors, being open to feedback, constantly innovating, and not having that bias at the back of your mind that it does not matter. Your gender has nothing to do with your business. And I really feel that that would go a long way in terms of helping you succeed and raising capital.
I think it really matters when you have your investor more in the form of a partner, like you just said. And I think
Absolutely.
from an environment perspective, the sector emotion, the impact of market or other social, economic, political impacts on the business, there would be a relevance of demand of the moment. I think all of these aspects play a key role in determining your plan of action while raising funds. So when we talk about COVID, and Nimisha, I'll bring you in here. How has COVID impacted your portfolios, and has your philosophy really been to reserve capital for portfolio protection, or are you seeking newer opportunities as well?
I'm so glad you brought this up, Archana, because then this is really to not women entrepreneurs, to businesses in general. I feel that COVID situation separated the burn businesses from the capital efficient ones. There are businesses which have been funded disruptively or to a larger scale, and they get into this mode of wanting uh, to create that expenditure burn, rather than thinking how can I efficiently use my capital. And for us, for most of our companies, it was more about using our capital efficiently. We also pick up our companies based on that. We want to assess whether the promoter is using that capital with a lot of efficacy to get what he's wanting to out of the business. But when COVID came in, honestly, it was all about tiding out for the next 12 to 18 months. We worked very, very closely with our companies, like including Neha's, for working capital management to ensure that we're going to rework how the fixed expenses of the company would look like. The whole intent and idea was, Archana, to create a runway of sorts for all the companies to just tide over these 12 to 18 months. At that time, we had thought it's going to be 8 to 10 months, but now it looks like it's going to be like a 12 to 18 months for everyone out there, really. Managed, and the companies were also pretty, acceptable to these conversations, because they did realize that whoever actually lasts through this runway really will all emerge as winners. So what the COVID situation has brought about, unfortunately, is that at least 20 to 30% of the businesses are really going to shut down because of not being able to get capital, or for not being able to control their expenses, and you run out of that runway for that matter. And the idea was, then let's stretch that runway in a way that we last till things normalize, or we're able to create that next round of funding for the company. So just to give you a few examples, we have one company in which is into premium hospitality. They have villas in and around Bombay, very premium villas which they give on rent. Um,
Different states,
yeah,
correct?
Saffron States, yes. So I think you've been there, right, Ashna? I think you've experienced one of the properties.
Yeah.
We worked very closely with them. They had a huge lease cost of 1 crore a month. Within 15 days, the promoters contacted every one of those homeowners who were on lease and got them converted to either revenue share or get a moratorium on them, thereby bringing the entire fixed expenses down by 70 to 80%. That's how you stretch your runway, right? Then you have just your fixed cost to manage your business, which is on 20, 30 lakhs a month or so.
Yeah.
Another great example is of somebody like, there's another supply chain company. They are more into debt and equity both, and managed to have a lot of conversations with their lenders to get their working capital terms revised in a way that it worked for them and helped them just pass through these 4 5 months of real tough times for them. Uh, Really, it's all about businesses also capturing the opportunity. Like Fraternity, for example, knew that their gyms have been shut down for offline because offline was completely off. They created this absolutely fabulous online business vertical, which was called like a Fit TV, which just gave you access to all trainers, gave you customized fitness programs. So, Geet, you should try this out once, since you were mentioning that you were really impressed by what they do. You should try it out. It's really nice.
I
Uh,
will.
yeah. So this is like, this is where you're very proud of your companies, that they use a situation like COVID, maybe an opportunity to get that part of the business which works for them at that point in time, right? While you wait for the larger set of the business to pick up. Uh, there's another company called Fast Enough, which is into active nutrition. And where in COVID, everybody went into this, oh my God, immunity and I want to be healthy, kind of a mode. They are into active life nutrition, and all of their products sold 3 times of what the pre-COVID sales were. So see, the entrepreneurs have to be malleable, agile, not malleable. They have to be agile and quick to pick up these opportunities and ensure that you at least grab what is there in front of you, because that market share right now is open for grabs, right? Versus somebody else. Uh, even companies which are into, to give you another example, into direct to customer, or companies which are more stronger in the marketplace channel, picked up much, much faster than companies which were more reliant on the offline channel. So maybe COVID, in some ways, I feel for the companies was a great opportunity, and for investors alike, to zoom in and zoom out and see how do we create an opportunity of sorts, how do we create that runway for the companies, and how do we come out winners at the end of all this, right? Whoever survives this particular time frame will definitely be ahead of the game. Um, and because most of these companies have gone through a great revamp of cost cutting, when the demand picks up eventually, there will be a lot of profits and operational leverage that these companies will have. And hopefully, I'm proud to say that all of our companies have been able to survive through this particular difficult times.
So let me butt in with a question here. Did you notice any difference? I mean, you help a company, I mean, whether it is COVID or any disaster which happens, you step in when the company invites you to come and help them. So did you notice any difference in, more of men driven businesses or women businesses, whether there was any difference in who asked for help? Because
Uh,
what I understand is that women are reluctant to ask for help.
So, Geeta, and I'm sure Neha will add more to this. We are sounding. We feel we are great sounding boards to the company. We are in constant touch with them, and I'm sure there are times when Neha would not have liked also that we keep calling every second day to figure out if they need anything from us types. No, okay, to answer your question, no, not really. I have two women entrepreneurs in my portfolio company. One is right in front of you, Neha, and the other one is Tejas Parudekar from Saffron Stays. And I must say that both these women have such a balanced view and approach of what they are set out there to do, that both of them, I feel, are hustlers in their own way, of course. Uh, Never seen them shine from approaching us, for sure. Maybe I can say that we are approachable.
No, absolutely no. What I would add over there, Geet, I think it's about, as a fund, right? One is, how much you're there for the entrepreneurs in terms of the pivots or the changes that they have to do, etc., right? Second is how you are there in terms of tracking your MIS and all of that, right? uh, but the third aspect, and which is a more softer aspect, is will you have that ability to sort of pick up the phone and call, right, and ask any question and not feel judged. And I think that is what Nikhil, Nimisha, are, right, at Six Sense. I would actually pick up the phone and ask them a silly question, or ask them, what do you think about this, right? And I think that was there pre-COVID as well, right? So during COVID, there was just so much comfort, where that there were times where Nimisha told us, hey, you know what? I think we need to do this differently. You guys are not thinking about it this way. And we were like, yeah, you're right, actually, let's do that. And so it's been super, sort of mutual in nature in terms of, feedback pre-COVID as well. And a whole lot of things that they shared with us during COVID, because they have access to so many other companies, right, helped us actually rethink and say, hey, you know what? They're talking from, looking at 50 companies, right, in their portfolio, and they're giving us this perspective, and which is super valuable.
Yeah, I do agree that they bring in, a long-term perspective which you would not have, given that you are more, dealing with day-to-day issues. But when asking for advice, related to funds, so do you feel comfortable talking to a male or a female?
Yeah, as in, I don't think there has been any difference for me. For me, I don't think gender plays a role. I mean, for us, both Nikhil and Nimisha, Nikhil, who's also sort of, who had Sixth Sense, and Nimisha as well, who we interact with more on a daily basis. But I think I wouldn't see a difference in terms of feeling more comfortable with Nimisha. I wouldn't say that. I think it's about to to sort of point out to what you're saying. Is there a difference in terms of the way women take feedback, or do women want feedback from women? I would say, yeah, maybe I would say that it is easier to take feedback from women, maybe. Uh, but I don't think that that sort of impacts, or it's not a bias, right? Uh, and I think that's really important when you're sort of dealing with a business and scaling up and navigating, right? Because for everybody, I think COVID has been pretty much back to basics, right? I mean, our business went from millions of dollars of monthly sales to zero, right? And when you're in that stage, you have to be resilient and you have to be like innovative. You're going to do 100 things and possibly one will work out, right? um, yeah, and I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it does.
There was a
So, what is it that, sorry?
sorry, just in relation to what you just said, someone else also asked this question that do women investors assess situations slightly with a different lens than their male counterparts? So I think this is a common question which people have around.
I think Nimisha can answer that.
No, I think we began the whole conversation. So my message is to everyone out there is no. It's all about the business plan that you're presenting. It's all about the confidence that you show, the agileness that you show in projecting your idea in front of whether it's a man or a woman out there. Uh, I don't think it makes a difference. I think there's only one person who makes a difference in all of this is you yourself. So you got to be sure of what you're doing. Like I said, yes, some women are privileged to have great exposure all their lives, but a lot of them are get intimidated when they have to deal with a set of investors in front of them. Be it angels also for that matter. I'm not talking about only VC funds, right? Uh, you have so much going for you. You've done it, you've cracked it. It's all a matter of just being confident out there while discussing your business plans, your funding requirements, or what you intend to do in 3 years, 5 years. It just doesn't matter whether there's a man sitting in front of you or a woman sitting in front of you. Actually.
Well, it's nice to know that perhaps we are projecting our own fears out in the open. Now you mentioned there are lesser women asking for funds. So how to reach them? There could be a disconnect in the, let's say, the information channel, or there must be some gap. So how are you addressing or thinking of addressing this?
Can I suggest, because yes, there are, so one is entrepreneurs, like I said, who are hustlers and are confident, and they will make or break their way around. There are so many of them in tier 2, tier 3 towns, right? They are also entrepreneurs there, women, who need to get that basic level of mentorship and training. And organizations like yours can really go can really be great points of contact for them to understand how to modulate and train themselves to be prepared enough out there to scale up their business plan and ask for further funding. Uh, I would really feel that organizations like Vicky can modulate programs and get women in tier 2 and tier 3 enrolled as part of these programs, and also create a community of sorts and make people like Neha or Tejas, I said, from Saffron Stays, or people like me or Archana as mentors that they can reach out to. So I'm sure there are a lot of them listening to our talk here, and there should be some kind of a formal channel where they can connect with people like us to talk through.
And Nimisha, there was a video you wanted to share. Is that something you would like to share now, or?
No, it's okay. Actually it's a very interesting video to suggest and show that the gender bias is actually something that women themselves. It's like a global phenomenon. Women themselves feel that there's a gender bias that they bring to the table too. So if you want, I can play it. It's actually quite interesting.
Yeah, we would love to watch
Yeah.
it.
How do I do it? You just have to help me out, huh?
Yes. I think Jayashree, they already have the rights, right? You have the screen share rights. 1 minute, let me. Okay, just check Nimisha if you've got the screen share rights.
How do I check? Sorry, on this one.
There's a button called share screen right under.
Oh yeah,
Wait,
I was
Yeah.
looking at the right hand side. All right. Yes. Can you see now?
Yes.
yes, we can.
As part of an experiment to explore the human mind, we asked 22 people to solve the same riddle and recorded their responses. Feel free to participate also. Are you ready?
The riddle. A father is about to bring his son to a job interview, applying for a position at a large stockbrokers company in the city. Just as they arrive at the company's parking lot, the son's phone rings. He looks at his father, who says, "Go ahead, answer it." The caller is the trading company CEO, who says, "Good luck, son, you've got this." Ends the call and once again looks at his father, who is still next to him in their car. How is this possible?
He gets a call from the CEO, but it says,
"Good luck, son."
but he was next to him.
So not the father.
I think it was probably an audio recording of his father.
Maybe he made it a demo tape.
Like he has two fathers.
This is a hard one.
Maybe it's a word joke, like it's the grandfather of the son.
No, I think his name is Son.
I don't know. Maybe it's just like an old man, calling a younger guy son.
I have no idea.
The answer. It's his mother.
Oh, that's so stupid. Yes, of course.
Ah!
I should have thought of that, yes.
The CEO is a woman.
So I'm biased. In a sense. Is this about diversity and inclusion?
That's really mind-blowing, actually.
I always thought that I'm not very sexist. But in spite of that, I think these subconscious biases are there in everyone's mind.
How much bias I still have in terms of thinking that the CEO needs to be a man.
Yeah, I definitely was picturing a man. I identify with males more than females these days.
Why can't women also be CEOs or doctors or, right? When I think about a CEO or someone that's high position within a company, I mostly think of man. And it's a shame, I think.
That's so weird, because I'm a CEO. I'm a woman.
I want to be a CEO. Why didn't I think about that? I believe women can absolutely be CEOs, and that's definitely something that we should work on, especially when you're saying that so many people have been told this riddle and most people haven't gotten it. Women make great CEOs and great leaders as well. And yet only 5% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. Let's change our mindset.
It's really amazing.
And you won't
Yes.
believe it. I have sent this to so many men. They haven't got it. Not a single one. Not a single one. Okay. So, the point of showing that video was that entrepreneurship is it's not an easy journey for sure. And hats off to all the great women out there who are set out to ensure that they rise high in the journey that they are in. I mean, to Neha, to maybe my other portfolio company,
To Archana as well.
entrepreneurs, and everyone out there who's listening to us. I'm sure a lot of them are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not an easy journey, but at the end of the day, I just want to end with a quote really from someone, and I'm just going to kind of maybe try to recollect properly. That girls, entrepreneurship is all about living a few years of your life like most people want really, so that you can spend the rest of the life like most people can't. So make it big out there, more power to you, more success to you, and you've got it all. You just got to do it. That's it. Just believe in yourself. Get mentors who believe more in you than you believe in yourself. Really, that's the key.
Brilliant.
That's an absolutely beautiful note to end with. And Geet, I'll leave it for you to wrap up the session. I think we are just on time.
Yes, we are. And thank you, all of you, for sharing your learning today and helping us to understand what preconceived notions that we have, and uh, for me to understand that whatever man woman difference is only in the mind and not in the actual space. So thank you all, and definitely we will uh, you know be more, take power from the fact that uh, it's all about your idea and all about taking confidence in your idea and your aspirations and converting your scaling your dream. I'm sure whoever has a running business and has had it for more than 2 years, I think what she needs to be told is now, woman, just get out there, and you have these all these wonderful women there to help you. So uh, make use of all this help which is available. Thank you, Archana, Neha, and Luisha, and we will definitely be in touch again. And all the participants, thank you and have a very good evening
Thank you.
So
once
much
again.
for those wonderful thoughts. And thank you, Nimisha and Neha, for taking out the time on a Saturday and sharing your beautiful experiences and thoughts with us. It's been an absolute
Much.
pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great weekend.